Hi, welcome to Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd.
And I'm John Van Dyke.
And today we're going to be talking about why you should record in a studio. Here we go. All right, so we found this article, but it's been written a couple times. It basically talks about why you should record in a studio versus at home or in your bedroom. And it makes a good case as to why you should do it. You have access to things like outboard gear, vocal booths, and a recording studio is built acoustically for music, basically, and for recording purposes. And recording at home is fine for, I guess, for like demos and stuff. But for like a professional sounding recording, you probably want a Pro Tools rig and outboard gear and a really good console and things like that to make the recording sound as good as it can. I know we've done some recording at home and it's turned out okay, but it wasn't professionally sounding because just because of the room that we're in and things like that.
Although sometimes adding something as simple as sound deadening can go a long way.
Yeah, it can.
Sometimes reverb is ugly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. I remember last year Dave Grohl put out a movie about the Sound City studio in Van Nuys, California, which is in the Valley in Los Angeles. And he talked about how, it wasn't really, it wasn't built as a recording studio. It was built as a factory for Vox amplifiers. But for whatever reason, the room that, I guess the production room, it just made the drums sound amazing. And for whatever reason, so sometimes you can get really lucky, and a room will sound amazing just on its own. But oftentimes what will happen is without getting too technical, each room has a frequency that's louder in it than other rooms. So for mixing, if you're mixing in a room that isn't acoustically treated, the one frequency where the room is heard, the one frequency where it stands out is you're going to tend to EQ that frequency out because that's what you're hearing predominantly. So when someone goes to listen to it in another room, it's going to sound off. So that's why you have to mix in a dead room. And so it's little things like that can really make or break a recording and make something sound either professional or amateur. Mm-hmm. The article talks a little bit about standards in recording have gone down quite a bit. I know I reviewed last year sometime the new Deer Hunter album, and
don't believe I've heard it.
Yeah, I mean the songs are good, and they're well written, but the recording just isn't good. It just isn't.
It just sounds sloppy.
Yeah, it sounds sloppy. It sounds unprofessional. And this was their third or fourth album, and it sounds
okay.
It doesn't sound like a professional band. It sounds like kids recording in a garage for like a demo, just recording off the cuff. So I mean, there is something to be said for hiring a professional recording engineer, even a producer is good to come in to sort of guide the band, because sometimes when you're writing the songs, it's good to have an outside perspective. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So it's little things like that I think are beneficial to recording in a studio. And getting back to Sound City, they closed because they didn't keep up with technology. People recorded, they stayed in the analog world when the world around them was going to digital. I mean, tape is the best sounding recording. 2-inch tape is the best sounding recording you can get. The problem is the world doesn't use tape anymore, and so, for a reel of 15 minutes, it's $300.
Exactly, it's very expensive.
And Studer, which is top of the line tape machines, they don't exist anymore, and they smashed their models or their molds. So if you need parts for your tape machine, you can't really get them unless you have an old tape machine lying around. So recording with tape has huge limitations.
Why do they smash the molds, or do they just have to break them in order to get the parts out?
They didn't want anybody copying their designs.
They don't sell their own parts? Well, that's...
The company doesn't exist anymore. But when they were going under, they smashed their models or their molds, and so that nobody could copy them.
That sounds kind of selfish, because what difference would that make to them?
I guess it was an ego thing. It must have been an ego thing. But yeah, and the other thing too is like musicians think that they know what they're doing in recording, when oftentimes they really don't. Like, I went to school for audio engineering, and I thought I knew quite a bit about recording when I first started in college. But there was a whole world that I had no idea about, and all the problems that can come up, and things that I never even thought of, like EQing a drum kit and a bass together so that they don't, conflict with each other, because the kick drum and the bass guitar live in the same frequency spectrum. Taking care of little problems like that is something that a professional recording engineer can do.
It's trained to do, yeah.
And so just recording in your basement and putting it up online is not... It's okay if you're just starting out, but if you really want to get serious, go hire a professional engineer and rent some time in the studio. It's a little more expensive, but it's gonna be worth it in the end, because you're gonna have that professional there who knows what they're gonna do, knows what they're doing, knows the room, knows the console. They know everything about the studio. They're going to be able to help you, and rather than just recording in your bedroom. Electronic music is a little different. That's all on the computer.
Exactly.
It
doesn't take... There's no rooms involved, really.
Yeah. So we're talking about like rock music and stuff that's recorded with live instruments. So that's pretty much... that's our advice for any bands that are starting out, is at some point invest time and some money in a recording studio, or at least have an engineer in your garage who knows what they're doing to try and work with. So at least have someone there recording you, and so you're not just doing it yourselves, because chances are you don't really know what you're doing. You may think you know what you're doing, but you probably don't. So anyway, let us know in the comments what you guys think. If you think it's worth it to get a time in a studio, or if you think it's just a waste of time, let us know in the comments. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Follow John on Twitter @FunkyDutch.
I haven't been on lately. I've been in the middle of a move. So.
Yeah. You can be sure to subscribe so you know when we post a new video. And that's about it. I'm Jeremy Boyd.
I'm John Van Dyke.
Take it easy.